Every machine has a weakness. Every hunter has a strategy. And every battle tells a story. Welcome to Machine Hunter Mondays.
Welcome back to another episode of Machine Hunter Mondays. I'm Ima, and every Monday we're going to know another machine, or in today's case, two machines from the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. This week we're stepping away from the bigger and more aggressive machines and taking a look at two machines that spend most of their time simply roaming the wilds. We've got the Grazer and the Lancehorn. They look peaceful, they look harmless, but believe me, there's more going on here than just grazing. Both Grazers and Lancehorns can be encountered by exploring the wilderness, usually roaming around in herds or groups rather than sitting around waiting for Aloy to come look for them. And because they're acquisition machines, their job isn't really to hunt other machines or attack Aloy. They're out there gathering, scavenging, and interacting with the environment. Which brings me to the fun fact. When you watch these machines without disturbing them, they actually behave more like wildlife. They're moving around, grazing, and following their normal routines. And here's another fun fact. The moment Aloy starts causing trouble, that peaceful routine disappears very quickly. The Grazer is an acquisition class machine with 150 health points in its standard form. It isn't designed to hunt Aloy. In fact, its first instinct when it detects danger is usually to run away, and honestly, I love them for that. And because they're just simple, sweet-looking machines peacefully walking around, and then suddenly, boom, everything changes. The reason I enjoy hunting grazers is because of their blaze canisters. The blaze canister is weak to fire and tear, and this is where things get wonderfully chaotic. If you're using fire ammunition and hit that blaze canister correctly, you can trigger a powerful explosion. And this is where you need to be careful because the explosion isn't just about damaging the machines. Aloy can get caught in it too. So if you're planning to deliberately trigger a blaze explosion, don't stand right beside the grazer thinking you're completely safe. Give yourself some distance, let the fire do the work, and watch that explosion happen. I honestly think this is one of the funniest things about these machines. You look at a grazer and think, okay, it's probably going to be an easy machine, and then you hit the blaze canister, and suddenly you've created your own little fireworks display. The Grazer also has a few attacks of its own. Its charge can deal around 120 damage and its leg attacks can deal around 90 damage. It can also use an upward antler stab, dealing around 100 damage. So although running is normally preferred option, don't stand directly in its path. A frightened grazer isn't going to politely ask you to move, it's going to charge through you. And that's something I think is really interesting about acquisition machines. They're not aggressive because they want to fight, they're aggressive because you disturb them. So when you see a group of grazers, take a moment and scan them. Look at their blaze canisters, think about where you want the explosion to happen, and most importantly, think about where Aloy is standing when you trigger it. Because a good hunter controls the battlefield, not just the machine. Now let's talk about something I personally find a little funny, overriding a grazer. Yes, you can override them after unlocking the appropriate override through Tolerance Sigma, but I have to be honest, I find overriding a grazer pretty useless most of the time. And here's why. What exactly is my grazer going to do? It's not a mount, it's not looking for trouble, and it's definitely not walking around thinking, where can I find an enemy to destroy today? It's a grazer, and it's perfectly happy doing its own thing. That's why for me the most useful option is usually a good old R1 strike. Sneak into position, scan the machine, wait for the right moment, and strike. It's quiet, it's efficient, and it lets you choose exactly when the encounter begins. So, yes, you can override a grazer, but personally, I'll take the silent strike and save the override for a machine that's actually going to help me. Moving on to our second machine, the Lancehorn, and this machine has a very different personality. The Lancehorn is an acquisition machine, but it is much more confident when provoked. It has a 275 health point, and those drilling horns can cause some serious damage. And this time, instead of focusing on fire, we're looking at freeze. The Lancehorn has a freeze canister, and that component is weak to both freeze and tear. So once again, our focus is incredibly important. Scan the machine, identify this canister, and then plan your attack. If you hit the freeze canister correctly and trigger that elemental effect, you can create powerful freezing effect around the machine. And this can give Aloy a huge opportunity. A frozen machine becomes much easier to deal with because you can take advantage of the vulnerable state and follow up with stronger attacks. There's another reason I really enjoy exploring areas with these machines around. Because while you're out hunting, there's always a possibility of finding wildlife nearby. And when animals are injured or killed during the chaos, you can sometimes collect useful meat on them. So suddenly your machine hunt becomes a little scavenger hunt of its own. Machine parts, resources, meat, you can really make most of the environment around you. And that's one of the things I love about Horizon Zero Dawn. You're not just walking through an empty world. Everything is moving, machines are moving, you're moving, animals are moving, and sometimes one little fight can completely change what's happening around you. Unlike my Grazer experience, I actually found the Lancehorn override much more useful. And in this particular encounter, I had the Lancehorn go up against the Watcher. And this is exactly why I love overrides. Suddenly, instead of Aloy doing all the work, we've got machines fighting machines. I let the Lancehorn engage the Watcher and watch the fight unfold. But then there was a problem. The Watcher spotted me, and while my overridden Lancehorn was recovering, I had to intervene. So let's put that knowledge into practice. First, scan, don't rush, find the freeze canister, identify the drill horns, check the machine surrounding. Now we know what we're dealing with. If I'm using freeze ammunition, I'm looking for that canister. Once that freeze effect takes hold, that's the opportunity to attack. And if stealth is available, I'll always consider an R1 strike. Sneak through the gas, watch the Lancehorn's movement, wait for the perfect moment, and strike. The goal isn't always to deal the biggest amount of damage immediately. Sometimes the goal is simply to start the fight on our terms. Because if you run straight into a Lancehorn without a plan, you're going to find out very quickly just how painful those horns can be. Scan, freeze, strike, and keep moving. Let's take a closer look at the Grazer. The Grazer is an acquisition class machine, and as the name suggests, you usually find them peacefully roaming around and gathering resources. They're generally fleeing machines, so when you approach or alert them, their first instinct is to usually run. But don't let that peaceful behavior fool you. A Grazer is still capable of fighting back, and if you get too close, these horns can definitely cause some trouble. A standard Grazer has 150 health points, while a corrupted version has 225 health points. You can override Grazers after completing Cauldron Sigma, although they aren't mountable. Now let's look at the important components. The body doesn't have a specific elemental weakness, but the blaze canister is weak to fire and tear. And this is an important component because removing or triggering that blaze canister can give you a major advantage during the fight. The rotor blades are also weak to tear, so tear ammunition is your friend when you're trying to remove these components. Now let's talk about the attacks. The Grazer has a charge attack that can deal 125 damage with a trigger range of up to 50 meters. So even though it wants to run away, don't stand directly in its path. It also has several close range attacks including the front leg kick, hind leg kick, and leaping front kick, each dealing around 90 damage. And finally, we have the upward antler stab, which deals around 100 damage. So what's the best approach? I would recommend using stealth whenever possible, scanning the machines with your focus and targeting those important components before you start firing away. And once you've taken one down, don't forget the loot. Grazers can provide metal shards, wires, small machine cores, grazer lens, and grazer hearts. So remember, it may run from you, but that doesn't mean you should underestimate it. Study the machine, find its weakness, and make every shot count. Now let's take a look at the Lancehorn. At first glance, the Lancehorn might look like another peaceful machine roaming the wilds, but there is an important difference between the Lancehorn and the Grazer. The Lancehorn is agile and confident when provoked. These large drilling drill horns can cause some serious damage. The Lancehorn has a 275 health point and belongs to the acquisition class. Just like the Grazer, it can be overridden through Cauldron Sigma, but it isn't a mountable machine. Now let's look at its components. The main body doesn't have a specific weakness, but the drill horns are weak to tear. There are also freeze canisters which are weak to both freeze and tear. So if you're planning your attack, these are the components you want to pay attention to. Now let's talk about the Lancehorn's attacks because this is where things get interesting. Its start attack deals 150 damage and can be triggered from as far as 50 meters. So if you see a Lancehorn charging towards you, move. It also has a front leg kick and a hind leg kick, both dealing 120 damage. But then we have the attacks that you really need to watch out for. The gore and flip can deal a massive of 200 damage. The leaping horn stab can also deal a 200 damage with a trigger range reaching up to 12.5 meters. And finally, the upward horn stab deals a 130 damage. So while the Lancehorn may not look like one of the most intimidating machines in Horizon Zero Dawn, getting too comfortable around it can be a big mistake. When hunting one, I'd recommend using your focus first, identifying those horns in the freeze canisters, and using tear ammunition to remove the components. And if you have freeze ammunition available, remember that freeze canister is vulnerable to it. Once you've taken down your target, make sure you collect the loot. Lancehorns can provide chill water, metal vessels, metal shards, sparkers, wires, small machine cores, Lancehorn lenses, and Lancehorn hearts. So remember, it may look like peaceful machine, but provoke a Lancehorn and those horns are coming straight for you. So, after spending all this time hunting these two machines, what have we learned? Grazers and Lancehorns aren't designed to be top predators. They're acquisition machines. Their purpose is to gather, scavenge, and interact with the world around them. They're essentially part of the ecosystem, and that's why I actually enjoy watching them when I'm not hunting them. They're just out there grazing, scavenging, moving through the wilds, doing their job until Aloy comes along and decides I need some machine parts. That's fantastic sources of resources and loot, but they're also a reminder that not every machine in this world exists just to fight Aloy. Some machines are simply keeping the world moving. And that brings us to the end of Machine Hunter Mondays, episode 5. Today we hunted the Grazer and Lancehorn. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another Horizon Zero fan. Next Monday, we're going big. We are moving on from these smaller machines and we are hunting something much, much bigger. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support and love. And remember, stay sharp, keep moving. Happy hunting. I'll see you next Monday.